Yo, what it do? Let's get into it. It's no name. Let's talk a little bit. So last video, I did a little bit of bear poking, and I'm sorry for that. I just wanted to get some conversation. I wanted to get some opinions on how people felt about trade and SSF, why they play the game, what makes the game fun for them, and I did that. You guys gave me lots of feedback actually as far as what you find fun or not fun about trade and SSF. And that's what the conversation really is about. Because at the end of the day, Path of Exile is about fun. And this video, my last video, and maybe a couple more ideas I have coming up are things surrounded about bringing the fun back to this fucking game. Not necessarily like a crusade against how things are being done because we're just taking the fun out of the game. I don't agree with that. I find PoE to be the most fun it's been in years for me, actually, at the moment. But what I do know is that there's a lot of places where fun just kind of accidentally gets siphoned out of you. And I want to talk about ways to bring that back in across most, but specifically, we're going to talk about trade a little bit here. Like, how do we bring some of the fun back to trade based on some of the things that I saw and heard? So before I get into it, if you like these type of videos, liking the video really helps me out. It also lets me know, hey, make more of this. So please like the video if you enjoyed this, as well as subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of what I'm doing. Now, some of the stuff that I saw in the previous video gave me the inspiration for this video, but I was already going to talk about this anyways. But there were two takes in particular that really gave me my guiding direction, which is Trade League always boils down to how do I min-max div per hour? And as an SSF player, I usually got bored or decided I hated the grind because I'd have to learn all of the mechanics, which this commenter then went on to liken it to learning how to be a mason, a cook, a carpenter, a lawyer, a doctor, etc. for their family, when, you know, sometimes it's nice to just be able to specialize in one. And these two thoughts together kind of leaned into where I stand personally with what I think makes the game fun. Making the game fun for me really just means that I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it, whatever that looks like at the time, right? And that's not a trade or an SSF opinion, if I'm being honest. That's an either or statement. When you're in trade, it feels fantastic for the primary money-making strategy of the league to be something in your ballpark. Like, in leagues where Sanctum is really just the king of money-making, I love it because Sanctum is like my second favorite piece of content in the game. And that's perfect for me, right? For some people, for some of you watching, it might be when Giga map blasting is the thing. Like, you know, some of you may have not loved mapping and trade since the olden days of fractured map farming, you know, fractured 5-warp mapping, like that might have been your heyday as a mapper. Whatever it could be, it's about the thing that you enjoyed doing, right? And when it feels like you aren't playing the game, when it feels like you're playing the systems of the game more than you're playing the game itself, it just tends to feel worse, at least for me. Let me know if maybe I'm misspeaking for you. So, you know, hey, look, shout out at the comments, be like, hey, yo, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not what it's like for me. But I know from what I've heard, what I've seen, from people I've talked to, what I feel, it's that the game always feels at its best when I'm focused on playing the game and everything else just kind of comes around it. Whether it be in trade, I'm giga blasting and having a good time, and as a result, I'm putting out 10 div plus an hour, or I'm in SSF and I'm blasting and having a good time, and I'm getting to farm out all of this content and really just engage with some stuff that I haven't gotten to engage with in a while, try out some build ideas, do some testing, etc. Whatever it is that makes the game fun for me is what I'm getting to do. And it kind of all loops back together to me at this idea of fun. Fun is the core of that, of it's gamings, right? Like, we're, for the most part, adults, and we have, like, you know, jobs or families, whatever it may be that we need to tend to in our day-to-day lives. Gaming is our escape from that. At all points in time when we think about games, we should make sure that our games don't feel like chores, right? I have enough of that in my MMOs, especially, right? Like, we don't need our gaming to feel like chores. We need our gaming to feel like fun, like relaxation, like a hobby, right? And so it's why you can tell when people leave trade because they're too busy min-maxing div per hour. It's because the game became a chore rather than a game. or people leaving SSF because they didn't really like the fact that they had to grind everything that they wanted to do. It's becoming a chore instead of it being something fun for them. And I've got two dominant schools of thoughts, at least from what I've gathered and whatnot, that I think can try to assist in this thought. And we'll start from trade first. I want to, give y'all some love after that little bit of a burn I provided in last video, which is in trade, prioritize playing as if you weren't playing in trade. And that sounds goofy and silly, but the number one thing that I hear a lot of times is the idea that the game becomes about min-maxing div per hour. Why? What suddenly about the existence of trade forces you to forego your ability to have fun? I'll ask that again. What about trade forces you to forego your ability to have fun? Because innately, trade does not do that. Innately, all you have to do is stop comparing the strategy you're doing to other strategies. And there's a whole other talk about the inefficiencies in farming strategies and how information around that is presented. But right now, I just want to talk about, like, if you enjoy the game doing delirium mapping, fuck it, go do some deli mapping. Shit, you enjoy the game doing Harveys? Fuck it, go do some Harveys. If you're like me recently, I've been in love with using all flames in my maps or strong boxes. Fuck it, do some strong boxes in your map. What the hell? Like, if you're enjoying the game in a specific type of way, continue to play the game in that way. That's what trade is for. Trade allows you to infinitely focus on one way to play the game, with the only caveat being actually having to trade. This trade system sucks. I'm not even gonna hold you. But that's the only caveat. And now, if you're an SSF player, I challenge you to ask the question, why do you actually play SSF? Is it just because it gives you freedom from the pressures of trade, but you still don't really like the grind? Because what it could be, if you don't like the grinding aspect, just a challenge thought for you, right? It's the builds you play. And it's not like, you need to play better builds thing. It's more like, try different builds for different content. Sometimes the little change of pace helps out. The biggest thing that I always run into in SSF terms is actually the fact that you can't use the same character for everything, and so you have to level more. And that's a point of friction for people. Leveling sucks in this fucking game, right? We all agree here. Leveling sucks. Maybe you need to do characters that can do more overall content. Maybe you need to do characters that are more focused and just do more different characters, right? It's like, man, I have to farm Legion, but luckily it took me, 3.5, 4 hours to get a quick, get a dead eye real quick up to par so I can farm some Legion. Oh man, I need to go farm some Delve. None of my current characters are good, too particularly fantastic at Delve. I could do it, but instead I spent some time, made me a new BV character for Delve or something, right? Like whatever it may be, you could just very quickly whip up something else and get it done that way, right? That's kind of like a tip in SSF. The other thing could be just being, engrossed in the excitement of SSF when things drop and it's cool. Like, the BV character that I'm working on right now, that I dropped an Ashes and Impulsa. We have an Impulsa. I dropped the fucking Aureus End. Like, that's just kind of exciting. That's the rush for me, right? And so, make sure you continually chase the rush wherever the rush goes. Even if you are in SSF and you don't have infinite resources, you can still chase down that rush. I'm going to close down this video really quickly with just a statement from me, right? Like, why do I play the modes that I play? Because I'm not one or the other. I'm not a trade player and I'm not an SSF player. I'm a Path of Exile player. I saw somebody comment on my last video about the fact that it's inaccurate to call, or incorrect rather, to say that the two modes are not exclusive. They're not. It's the same fucking game. The only thing that's exclusive is that I can't trade with trade players while playing an SSF. Oh no. But They are two ways to experience the game, and they've helped each other a lot. And that's why I play both, actually. I play trade when I want to do research about how things particular to trade go, whether it be strategies in terms of money per hour or trying out build concepts that are a little weird and whack to try to play in SSF, right? Or really just new league mechanics in general. Like, I can't start and not trade on a new league because I need to see if the league mechanic is any good or not. Like, I wouldn't have played this new league mechanic in SSF first. It wouldn't have really made sense. Necropolis felt really good in trade at first. Then it got kind of weak in the mid game and all that stuff. Like, trade is my experimentation ground for how things feel at a macro sense. And then I like to go to SSF to really hone down in the micro sense, really focusing on my character, on my play skill, to focus in on some of my build crafting skill as well, because I don't particularly believe in the meta stagnation that I've seen over the past year or so. But that's a whole other thing that we'll talk about at a different day. Anyways, I've been yapping for a little too long. If you like this video, again, please like it. It lets me know that y'all like what's going on here. If you want to see more of what I do, subscribe to the channel so you can see what's going to happen. If you want to connect with me further, I do have a Twitch. I do not stream with extreme frequency. Do not like sub to the Twitch or follow the Twitch and be like, where is he at? I'm letting you know now, it exists as something that I'm like working towards, but I don't really have the time and energy to stream like I want to yet. So keeping that in mind for the future. But what I do have is a Discord, and I'm in it very frequently. I'm very active there. If you want to communicate with me there, that's in the description, as well as my Twitch. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, it's about fucking fun. It's about having fun when we play this game, right? It's a game. And keep that in mind. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.